How do you not get married on a space net? Check out behind the scenes to our wedding on this episode of How Not to Highline. Hi, I'm Ryan Jinks, and I married Kim Weglin on 11/20, a day before GGBY Festival in Moab, Utah. And some people tease me that I would make a how not to get married on a space net video, so I'm not going to disappoint. Scott Rogers made an epic 1-minute video of our wedding, and Kim made a sweet video timed to our dance song, Red Hot Chili Peppers' Hard to Concentrate. Since they made the mushy gushy ooey gooey videos, I'm going to make the behind the scenes video. In case you haven't seen it, we got married on the space net that is usually up during the GGBY festival. But this year we added a unique aisle to it so her dad could walk her down it and give her away like a traditional wedding. We had aerialists performing underneath the net during the ceremony, and then base jumpers as our flower girls afterwards. I made our reception tent out of PVC pipe and plastic, and it was 750 square feet. And we had a gourmet taco bar, normal reception, and then it turned into a desert rave.
It's gonna be an epic wedding. Like, this is blowing my mind. With an aisle, with some big monster lines behind us at the fruit bowl with GGBY with the gorgeous bride. Wow. This is epic.
Now, I'm not trying to dive into too much detail about rigging in this video, but here's the short version on how to rig a space net. So you tie one leg of the space net to the cliff, and then you use the other legs of the space net to pull it off the cliff, and then you position it where you want and tighten it, and you're gonna need a lot of friends when you do it. And then the aisle is its own thing, so check out how we set that up. It's double layered 2 prefabbed nettings, and then overlapped 2 rows of them so that it would be this wide. We used Andy's 15mm rope to run down the sides and the ends, and it's got like these clipping points all along here so you can grab it and pull. Now if you want to know how I made that PVC pipe tent, here's a short version. You get 2 long rows of 4x4s, you take 1-inch PVC pipe with a coupler on the end, you get 3 of them, 3 10-foot sections, you put them in an arch, you put them in, one end in each section of the 4x4s, and every 5 feet you have a rib, cover it with plastic, attach it down. It ended up taking a lot of rope to stabilize it, and pray for no wind. But what I really want to share with you today is why the wedding turned out so awesome. It was the stuff that was going on behind the scenes. So if you weren't there and you only saw the videos, you would have missed some of the best parts. I'm usually leading the missions that we go on, so I usually have everything detailed and covered and logistically planned out, but not this wedding. If it wasn't for our Slack family who stepped up, Kim and I could not have done this on our own. So I want to share in this video all the magical moments that happened because of our Slack family. Kim and I knew after GGBY 2016 that we wanted to get married on the space net that's there because I proposed on that net and it wasn't a thing yet, and it meant a lot to us because GGBY 2014, 2 years prior, was technically our second date. So when we first got there, 10 minutes after we got there, Andy base jumped into that net and then back out of the net, searing into our minds that GGBY was the coolest place ever. So that added with the fact we wanted as much of our Slack family there, it only made sense to get married at GGBY 2017. So first I'd like to point out the person who worked the longest and the hardest on the wedding, my bride. Kim worked like 6 months and 1,000 hours working on the details and planning and stuff that I didn't fully understand and even appreciate until it was all put together. And then it was like, wow. The wedding looked cool and was beautiful, but it's when you zoom in and you see all the details that you can really appreciate the level that she went through. She worked so hard to make it look classy, yet saved us a ton of money. She made the bouquet herself, she made the invitations herself, she did all the signage, she did the soft shackles, she made the soft shackle rings, she put together the tuxes, the colors, all of that, and coordinated all of her dress things that she needed to do, and messaged over 200 people individually to make sure as many people would be there as possible. She was a champ and got ready in a van and then got married in 30-degree weather in the desert. What bride does that? She looked stunningly beautiful, but could let her hair down and party hard. She was a star. I love you, baby. And now for the other person who worked the longest and the hardest on our wedding, Andy Lewis. Now we were really hoping to get to use his net for our wedding, and he graciously said yes. And since that net naturally means a lot to him, and we really enjoyed hanging out together, we wanted him to be a key part of our special moment. So I asked him to be my best man. He took the wedding on as if it was his own. He weaved an additional mile of paracord into that net so it'd be easier to walk on, and closed up that center hole that people base jumped out of so we'd be able to stand in the middle of that net. Then we asked for an aisle, and with the help of the Slack Life BC crew, they all ended up making this aisle that didn't taco in the middle, and it worked really well, so Kim's dad could walk her out. And rigging that net was complicated because we had to have an entirely different anchor for an aisle, and because the net wasn't completely out in the middle like it was the years before, he figured out how to do all of that without adding any bolts. And he also added those Andy-like details like pretending to drop the rings through the net on the wedding day. And no, he didn't actually drop the real rings. It was a prank, and he did it really well. That wedding wouldn't have happened like it did without him. Thank you, Andy, for everything.
This is something that is not only an idea where you're like, hey, that's a cool idea, where you take that idea and you create it into reality. And you guys were part of an idea that is now a reality, so thank you for that.
There was another person who worked for weeks and then took on a mountain of stress on the wedding day. Mountain Matt. Matt Davis for several weeks worked on coordinating the lights and the sound for the tent that I claimed that I could make that I've never set up before. If it wasn't for him, that tent just would have been the redneck greenhouse goes to Burning Man tent that it was. He set the foundation for the rad party we had. Then he worked so hard on cooking the food on the wedding day that he couldn't even come down to the ceremony. We asked him to make a simple taco bar for 75 to 100 people, and he ended up making this gourmet dinner for 200 people that involved 5 different types of meat that he smoked and marinated for 2 days, and tons of veggies and vegan options and rice, beans, all the stuff. He had so many options, we couldn't believe it. It was super, super gourmet. And he did this for less money than it would have cost for me to take everyone out to Carl's Jr. And he did all of this in a minimalist kitchen under a 10 by 10 tent and with no official staff. But we ended up having 3 or 4 guys step up all day and help him in the kitchen and even help serve the night during the reception. They saw that we were in real need and they helped. Then that was what our wedding was like. It was embrace the chaos, empower people to do what they do best, and watch 200 people from our Slack family come together and put on this amazing event. So thank you, Matt, for kicking ass. And yes, there is another person who stepped out of their comfort zone and played a key role in our wedding. One of our main highlighting buddies and good friend, Scott Hong, officiated us for the wedding. He has never been to a wedding before and therefore has never officiated. We asked him because he is an artist with words, he loves approaching new adventures with 100%, and mostly because he is our very dear friend. We talked about meeting together and going over details prior to the wedding, but it ended up being just a few short phone calls because we all got so busy. So on his own, he became a minister of the Holy Computer, and he read a bunch and watched a ton of YouTube videos on how to marry people. And he fulfilled his role like a pro. And afterwards, no one could believe that he's never done that before. He also spent endless hours creating these awesome party hats that have tons of LEDs on them and lots of details. Thank you, Scott, for being such a great friend, playing such a key role, and doing it so well.
Ryan, I must ask you once more, did you agree to love Kimberly, joining with her today in matrimony, cherishing and respecting her, loving and embracing her in times of adversity and times of joy? If you agree, say hell yeah.
Hell yeah.
Hell yeah.
Then a wish we thought would never happen ended up coming together. We met Danny Whalen, who's a badass base jumper, at Andy's house a few weeks prior to the wedding. We called him up later and asked him if he would put flower petals in his parachute and be our flower girl and wear a tutu during our wedding. Just an everyday request, right? He got so stoked and behind our dream that he got together a team of 10 base jumpers that all put flower petals in their parachutes and wore tutus and were our flower girls during our wedding. It was such an amazing ending to our ceremony. Him and the team put together all the details for it. They did everything. So thank you to everyone who jumped and got involved. It was definitely the highlight of our wedding.
Yeah! Best wedding ever! Yeah!
Yeah, congrats, you guys!
We also had Silks and Lyra during our wedding. From day one, it was always something we wanted. It was always part of our vision because it was something that was always part of what the net was at GGBY. So thank you, Carolyn Dignas, Liz Thomas, and Alita French for performing so well and freezing your asses off down there.
Okay.
Oh, for real?
Oh.
Ooh.
Oh wait, should I take? Oh no,
I'm
she's
just
again.
gonna stand still in the middle. Not the scariest thing I've ever done at all. Just today.
Are you gonna be pretty warm while you're down on them?
Definitely.
Yeah.
Yeah. Once we get going, it get a lot warmer.
It also meant a lot to me that my entire crew wasn't just there, but was a part of the wedding. Justin Smested, Michael Melner, and Garrison Rowland were all groomsmen. Rarely do I get to have everyone on a Highline trip, but it meant a lot to me that everyone made it a priority to come and be a part of our wedding. And Michael Milner has all these hidden talents, and making giant bubbles was one of them. He set up several bubble stations and got people involved. Now it's hard to fill up an entire canyon full of bubbles, but we ended up getting some of the coolest photos because he did that. And they were all some of the key players in making sure that the anchors in the space net was rigged properly and checked everything, because I didn't have time to do any of that, and I knew it was Bomber because they were involved.
It's like messing with him, making him laugh and giggle.
Yeah.
Oh, God. Here it is. Okay.
Yeah.
Yeah.
Kind of violating and pleasurable at the same time.
Man,
And our photographers, Abby and Kellen Hearn, did way more than it was expected, went above and beyond, and spent lots of extra time with us. We were excited to have them because they're like the best adventure photographers in the industry. And Scott Rogers filmed our wedding, which was incredible because I've been following him and his projects for years, and to have him be filming our wedding was just incredible.
Normally I'm always like, yeah, we like take our clients on an adventure and like make them scared. Now I'm scared. This is so cool. I'm so stoked. This is awesome. Best wedding ever.
Now, one of the most amazing things that happened to me during this wedding was the amount of people who helped. Some people, like my best friend from high school, Brandon Hibler, drove a bunch of supplies from California there and then brought them all back home and was my right-hand man. He's not even a slackliner, he just came out there to support me. Kim's bridesmaids and friends were also a huge help. Not only that, but half of them aren't slackliners, and to be involved in this not your average wedding had to step outside of their comfort zone in order to get on a net that's 400 feet in the air. And then Canyon Kane offered to bring all of his stuff and DJ for our entire reception party all night. And Lisa Von Koch, the lady who does the paintings each year for GGBY, is doing a painting of our wedding. And Marco and RJ played the drum and flute so we could have live music during the ceremony. And Friedi Kuna got on the big line in the background of the space net and did bounce exposuring and trick lining for over half an hour. And then we had some friends from Iceland come and help, and they helped us a lot. And then we had some people that enjoy the How Not to Highline channel that I got to meet for the first time, came and volunteered and helped for days. And Michael T. Vanderberg ended up helping from start to the very, very end. Now, just about anyone I asked to help move stuff like the 750 square foot tent just jumped right on in. And 15 people volunteered to help carry that 500-pound space net down to the fruit bowl and then back up. And then like 30 people helped us rig that net. And then on the last night of GGBY, after the wedding, we asked people to help us carry a few things to our car because we had so much stuff to take up. 15 people stood up from their warm fire and helped carry a load all the way up to the van. These cumulative stories I've been sharing is the glue, it was the magic that made this entire wedding happen. One man and one woman could not have done that wedding. Kim and I could not have done that alone. It was our Slack family, the 200 people at our wedding. Having them was what made our special day special. Getting married on a space net requires a lot of friends. Therefore, you shouldn't get married on a space net. Don't worry, I won't cheat you out of a cheesy ending. Hey, thanks for watching, but don't be an idiot and think you can get married on a space net on your own. Instead, depend on your Slack family and they will blow your mind with support, love, and stoke. And check out our 2 wedding videos that we've featured on How Not to Highline. And thank you, everyone, for everything.